the NFL podcast is a thirsty ally.
From the Chris Wessling podcast studio, it's Around the NFL. I'm Dan Hanzus, joined by some heroes, Gregg Rosenthal, Marc Sessler. Boys, week 14, here we go. We flying now. It's entering into that middle of December, and I know there's an extra week this year, so season's not actually over till January 9th, the regular season. Isn't that kind of crazy? But that's just the way it
football is family.
Football is family. Football was family, and then they added another week to the season. They don't use that anymore. They were like, we had to give up something.
They have killed that.
It was family.
Am I just not tracking
they went
those
with family
ads?
at the beginning of the season, but yeah, the 18th week is actually just like a neighbor.
That was the
You just you invite them over, invite her over, but yeah, not family.
Remember when they announced the extra game added, and they said this season's going to be the biggest season
Oh wait,
ever.
that is it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What came in second is football was family.
Well, yeah. I mean,
They were like, what should we go? Let's skew positive.
the first ad campaign just creates anxiety in me. I don't need everything with the NFL to always be bigger, more balloon-like.
You're in the wrong company.
My
Man.
I'm
football's
rolling with
family. I mean, at this point, I am trying to insist that during like my kids' TV time, that Walker stop rewatching the 2012 NFL season, and yet that's just what he's doing. I'm just like, oh, you just enjoyed that Bears-Bengals Week 2 game from 2012?
Yes, but Greg, you directly created that issue in your house.
It's just up to him.
Today's Thursday. Tuesday night was the holiday party. That was a fun time. I came up with like a best of the holiday party before we get into all the game week.
Wow.
14 games. We're going to obviously go through each game, break it down. But a good time was had. The holiday party was held at SoFi Stadium, which was interesting. I've never been to a holiday party where I needed to go through a metal detector to enter the premises, but, you know, it is what it is. All right, here it is. The best of. It's kind of a countdown. Let's start with Erica. Number 7, Erica Tamposi. She had a little side hustle going on at the open bar. Okay? Erica, because we all got 2 drink tickets. Erica, at a certain point, ran out of her drink tickets. You might be surprised to learn this very quickly.
It's stunning.
And Ricky, what'd you do there? I really like this. This was
I mean, you're putting it all on me. I think there was some other people were involved as well.
Only you.
The shadowy league figures that are listening. I think 2 drink tickets, but then you couldn't pay cash. The bar was it. So not only do you, very nice party, but only 2 drinks.
Right.
And then you can't buy the drinks at the bar.
No, they were trying to shut it down.
Right. So I went up and I said, hey Daisy. Looked at her name tag.
Daisy.
I go, hey Daisy. You got Venmo?
She's Venmoing the woman to give her a little side juice. And at one point, a $20 bill slipped between 2 drink tickets. I was asked to handle that business. It was corrupt, is what I'm saying, but I have no regrets.
It's called tipping. I mean, that makes all the sense in the world. It's smart thinking.
All right, how about this? Speaking of drink tickets, number 6, Gregg Rosenthal's drink ticket debacle. Listen to this, Sessler. I just learned about this yesterday.
Lay it on me.
So you get 2 drink tickets per person. It's a +1 event. Gregg brings his wonderful wife, Emeka. Emeka's not a drinker or wasn't a drinker on Tuesday night. Gregg declines her drink tickets.
That's not true.
That is what I heard from our source.
No.
When you could have easily handed out those 2 drink tickets, you decline them.
No one.
Counterpoint,
No
Greg.
one declined. We didn't even realize it until she walked in. So they never offered it to her because she would have taken them, and they didn't offer it to me. We were separated in the line, but we didn't have them. I promise you.
That is so just weird. You know what I
Why?
mean? Does that make sense?
You'd almost want like the video, like the bank robbery video, to go back
The
and look at the
surveillance.
scene and just see what actually
We
happened.
definitely would never have declined it because
Okay.
I only used one of my 2 drink tickets. I immediately gave it away to someone. So you're happy to give away.
Could have given away 3, though. You could have been like,
Right.
hey, do you have your drink tickets? I'll give them away. It's like, it reminds me of the manscaping incident where Ricky brought in the manscaper, and then Gregg casually mentioned he has them piling up in his house and has never shared any of his manscaping equipment from the RJVP.
And
show.
we're enthusiastic about the product. So
I
it's
mean,
not-
I'm glad.
thank you, Greg.
I would not have thought it was be interested. If we had the option, there's no way we would have turned anything down.
How about this? Jet, your girlfriend, Ricky, she got a kick out of me. I had a couple pops, as I was leaving the party screaming at the top of my lungs, the fugitive line, I didn't kill my wife. definitely something you do
Yeah.
around.
Well, to the
people
point
you
where
work with.
your wife, Emily, kept having to turn around being like, I'm alive, I am well. But I didn't remember this, but I wake up in the morning and Jet is going, do you remember Dan? And then she was trying to do your deep voice, screaming it. Very funny.
It's also it's kind of a take on a theme of Dan's, I feel like, when we go out, which just often involves murder. I would just say murder.
You were correct, Greg.
Number 4, Marc's annual Irish goodbye. You got to enjoy that. Marc, you could count on Marc to disappear at this event, and everybody looks around. Marc's been gone for an hour and a half.
Well, I think in the past I've stayed till the end at times. That was not this. I don't know what happened to me at this party. We had a great time at Dan's house. Got to the place. I left with one drink ticket in my jacket
Ooh,
pocket,
see, that's
which is
even
unusual
worse.
for me.
I mean, I used mine or gave
But
mine
then I
away.
tried
What's
to.
up with this?
Then
What's
I was
going
going
on
to try
here?
to
Just
give it to
bad luck.
someone. It was like, just get me out of here. And so I went home.
You didn't see one person when you were exiting that were like, hey,
I
Marc,
did. There was
hundreds of
no. When
people.
I didn't realize till the end.
produce the ticket, and you're a hero.
There was a large man with a bald head. I felt like it would be a weird thing for me to go to approach him. with
Hey,
it,
listen,
but
I'm not looking to cause trouble with you, Marc, but that's worse than what Greg did.
Well, it's definitely
You knowingly walked out with a ticket.
I
That's
will
gold.
own it. I will own it as a terrible maneuver on my part.
All right. How about this? This was after the party. There was an after party at the Cozy, throwback, and it was a smaller gathering. I wasn't there, but Colleen and Lakeisha were at Devil's Perch. Marc, our famous spot. We sat many a night with Chris at Devil's Perch at the Cozy in Culver City, and they put together a video. And can we play some of that, Ricky?
We are so Christmassy, which I love. Oh, look at that. The lights. All of it. I didn't even think about that. The red, the green, the lights, the sparkle. Santa, we see you.
That was an earnest shout out to Santa Claus.
I think she still believes fully in that individual.
That was us. Like listening to that, it was pretty rare to catch like the moment that the gummy hits. You know.
Allegedly. I wasn't there, by the way, because I had to get up early to do the Pat McAfee show.
I like that.
Check that out.
Let's
Number
get into
one.
Danzer's
Right, and then-
cave and let's start ranking these motherfuckers.
Nice.
He signed a pretty big deal. Did you see that in the news?
He did.
Huh. That's interesting.
While others did not. I'm very happy for him.
Yeah. Well, it's something. It's something to keep an eye on, the business aspect of what we do. All right. Let's see.
How was that, by the way? Was that fun to do?
That was great. McAfee and his guys. It's a very chill, laid back atmosphere, and we had a fun talk. He asked, but no one had ever asked, like, the process of the power rankings. So I kind of explained how we did it. I mentioned our show. I mentioned that we get together and watch the end of Sunday Night Football together, and that's when I start formulating it. And it's a 24-hour
Did you say our
process.
names? Did you say our names?
I don't know if Gregg and Marc came up, but the Around the NFL podcast, does that count?
That works.
I don't think it works, but I appreciate. It probably would have been too niche to get into that. I understand where you were coming from.
Number 2, and I feel like this should be number 1, but they let everybody on the field, and I kicked a 25-yard field goal.
That was impressive. There's video evidence. You told me that, and I have no smart ass comment for it. I'm just like, good job.
It wasn't
Dan. I wouldn't
gorgeous.
have been able to do it.
Kickers Club for you.
It hit the net, though. It didn't sneak over. It hit the bottom of the net, so it got over.
Right. If there were if Calais Campbell was in front of you, he
Trouble.
might have been able to block it.
Major
But
trouble.
it did get over, and he made it. You're 1 for 1 from 25, which is better than the Jets kicker last week.
Extremely
so true.
impressive.
It's
yes.
so true. Oh my God, that Jets kicker. And the number 1 moment of the holiday party, behind Ricky right now is the Gravedigger, and we love the Gravedigger because he's so hot right now. Like Gravedigger's so hot right now. He's got so many things cooking.
Steamy property.
He's got such a bright future. I was told he was at the party again, a +1. Gravedigger on his arm, very beautiful woman. I was told via a source, and now we're going to get the info, that he had brought a married woman.
Wait,
to
I met her.
the
That was
holiday
not
party.
your.
And it was not
person?
his wife. Now we throw it to Justin. Justin, on your arm,
Yes.
a beautiful married woman.
Yes.
So what's that about?
Well, we've been just hanging out a little bit. It's nothing really.
Go on.
It's like taking a while for her marriage to dissolve, or it's just open.
Yeah, things
This
are
is amazing.
things are like
Fluid?
Yeah, fluid. That's a great word for it. And I'm
hold on.
just,
Wait a minute. Hold.
She's not gonna listen.
Do you know who she's married to, or is it? No.
Yes.
Interesting. You might want to no comment this.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the way that you handled this is sort of part of the. It's problematic the way you just handled this whole thing.
No,
I don't think so.
I mean,
he handled it
great.
with honesty and.
I love it. I just think it answers no questions for anyone that knows him.
That is sort of intentional. Yes.
Okay.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Gravedigger.
It's very
He's
juicy.
a hot property. Hit his new playout music there again, Ricky. That was. Did you met the woman?
I did.
She's very nice.
Absolutely. But I'd like to see more surveillance footage of the whole
what is
party
marriage?
coming out of them.
You know, what is it?
In the 21st century?
I would never do anything to violate a marriage. We're just hanging out. It's
Friends.
fun. For now, just friends.
For now.
Very hazy. Wait, hazy's fine. I'm just saying you've left it in the.
Hey, it's not my wife.
I think it's A+ to you.
It's a fluid situation.
Yeah.
Gravedigger.
I'll keep you updated.
Gravedigger.
Please do.
Dad has never been prouder of anyone.
That's a number one. That's a number one. All right, we're gonna keep tabs on that situation going
that was
forward.
good.
That could be central to our show. I mean, as we head into the
by
offseason.
the NFL Network insider Dan Hanzus. I didn't know that story, so that was good.
All right, let's get into the games now. Without further ado, like 40% of the audience just skipped the first 10 minutes of the program, and that's fine. We don't have an issue with that. But now we're going to talk football. Let's get into it. We'll start with the primetime games, then hit the draft. You know what? No, I'm not giving Sunday Night Football the respect of being on the top of the show. As a punishment to our league and the suits for keeping the Chicago Bears at 4-8 without a pulse in primetime just because Aaron Rodgers is a COVID warrior, I'm not doing it. They're going to the bottom of the show. Let's move to Monday Night Football. Rams at Cardinals from State Farm Stadium. Now, that's a football game. You want to start a show, you start it the right way. I go on Pat McAfee once, and now I talk like Pat McAfee. I'm going to let's get my persona back. The old Zeus.
You're Brian Kelly to some degree.
Let's get into it. The Rams are 8-4. The Rams snapped a ugly losing streak, but it was against the Jaguars in a game. By the way, they didn't even play that well in the first half. It was a close game, and then they pulled away, took care of business. They got to 8-4. And now, if they harbor any intentions of winning the NFC West, and how crazy is it, Greggy, that on December 13th, I'm about to say this, if they have any chance to catch the Cardinals in the NFC West, they need to beat the 10-2 Cards on the road. How do you feel about this one?
I feel like if the Cardinals team that showed up all season shows up, they're probably winning. Like, this is the fork in the road game, as we sometimes like to say on this show. The Rams at some point
Crossroads. Uncle Charles
a little
Bowl.
bit of a crossroads game. The Rams at some point, if they want to be the team that they say they want to be, like, they have to show it. And they haven't. Not since week 3, really, against that Bucs game. And if you think about the very next week, the Cardinals come in and handle them. That basically started this stretch for the Rams where they just don't look as complete. And I think they have the pieces to do it. Like, it's possible. You see it there. And yet when you watch the Cardinals week after week, and now that Kyler Murray's back and moving well, there's not like a lot of reason, despite them only being a 2.5-point favorite here, to think like if each team just plays their average game that the Rams have a good chance. I think the Rams have to show us something they haven't. I think it's a huge test for this Cardinals secondary, which has been badass all year. Byron Murphy getting after it. Jalen Thompson, these guys who we don't really know about, it's a big test for their defensive backs because I just think Sean McVay is going to try to attack that group in a way like they did in the first game. They threw the ball pretty well against the Cardinals the first time, but like that is the Cardinals area where you do wonder, could it buckle down the stretch?
The Cardinals have been the most consistent team. They have one loss when Kyler Murray is the starter. That was a 3-point loss to the Packers on Thursday night. They have been, to me, when their offense is not leading the way, it's been their defense. Last week, they absolutely took Chicago apart early, and they create turnovers. I don't love this game for Matthew Stafford. And it's not just what happened the first time. I just think that the Rams have been vulnerable. Matthew Stafford is getting hit every week. Arizona can create a pass rush. This is the most overlooked great team in sports right now. And I think it has to do with the fact that Arizona...
All of sports.
All of sports.
Where do you stand in the Atlanta Thrashers
I don't
right now?
track any of the other sports, and I'm confidently telling you that.
How about the Phoenix Suns? I mean, the two options right now play in the same city.
I feel like the Suns get
about
lots
Marquette?
of attention.
I mean, they just won like 18
Over in the
straight,
college
though.
ball.
Marquette is a fair
Normally you would get
competitive
that sort of pop.
point right there. I am locking up the Cardinals
Oh, nice.
on Monday night.
Oh, there you go.
Because
There
I
you
believe
go,
in this
Marky.
team that much. I just do. I think that they the version of Kyler Murray you got last week too. I know they haven't used him a lot on the ground. They did a week ago, and it was in bad conditions. We'll have to see if that goes on another week or two. But James Conner has fit in really well there. DeAndre Hopkins looked healthy to me last week. Why not?
I love it, Mark. It's and it's like, I gave you some grief and guff about locking up the Cowboys over the Saints last Thursday night.
This is very predictable. Whenever that happens, it's Dan playing for the next week. He knows Marc will get bowled the next week.
And then you came at me and you said, "How dare you, say that to me? You locked up against the Titans when they were all banged up." And then it's like, well, it's no coincidence that we were doing that, because in this strange ass season, the really only way to figure out the locks game is find the team that's like crippled by injury. And then bang them. Everything else is a coin flip, as Gregg's standings can attest. It's very hard to pick games this year.
On the locks, yeah, it's struggling. I do have some breaking news though, right here. The Atlanta Thrashers were a professional ice hockey team based in Atlanta. They were sold a decade ago and moved to Winnipeg, where they became the second incarnation of the Jets. So not underrated, not in existence for a decade.
Well, what's their record up there in
Thrashers.
Winnipeg?
That doesn't count. They're not the Thrashers anymore, but they're 12-9-4.
Okay. Well, guess what? Marquette, they haven't played any conference games yet, but they're 8-2, 5-0 at home.
Well, I gave you the Marquette point.
I don't know.
The
I
world
looked at
is
the
tracking
standing
that.
and I was like, "Where's Atlanta? Oh, they don't exist."
Anyway, forget about the locks. All right, good lock there, Mark. And it is over. The NFC West is over if the Cardinals do their business at home here, because that would put them at 11-2. The Rams would fall to 8-5. The Niners are 500. The Seahawks obviously are where they are. So this is such an important game for the Cardinals, and it's a statement game, because if you go and you beat up on the mighty Rams, the we're all in Rams, the this, the that, the NFL Network loves the Rams, guess what? Guess what? You are an absolute Super Bowl favorite. And I think we're all in agreement that this team is for real.
And in reverse, the Rams would, all the questions that kind of maybe went away as a focal point all week long about the Rams after beating up on a bad Jaguars team would come screaming back, because this is the Rams once again on an island game. This started when they were thumped by the Niners.
I think with the Rams, they face a lot of the questions to me that the Bills faced in some way, which is that, can you run the ball? That was a big takeaway. I know it was against the Jaguars, but they ran block really well last week. They maybe get Darrell Henderson back. If there's a weakness in Arizona, they're a little softer against the run now. Zaven Collins has been off and on. J.J. Watt's hurt. I think you got to beat them by running. I'd love to see the Rams run the ball. And the Cardinals, to me, are the most complete team in the NFL, because they can close out games running the ball. Like, they don't – that rain game, to me, was a little worrisome if you're a Cardinals fan in terms of bad weather, which makes this game and the rest of the regular season even more important. You could tell Kyler Murray, who came into the league with a little bit of that small hands rep, like Jared Goff, is he going to be good in bad weather? He could not grip the ball very well last week. I think that's why they only threw it 15 times. It's why he couldn't hold on to it had a couple nice throws too. But you know what? You don't have to worry about that. You're in a dome 5 straight weeks the rest of the regular season, and you are the number 1 seed right now. So go get that bye, get the home games, and don't worry
and
about it.
the Super Bowl's in Los Angeles.
Do you, by the way, Mark, do you think that when Gregg makes a point, it actually feels stronger because he's wearing a tie and glasses right now?
Oh, yeah.
But Gregg knows I think you look wonderful, Gregg, but I don't believe in ties as a concept.
But you wear like a suit jacket all the time.
Suit jacket's cool. I mean, the tie thing to me feels a little. It feels a little from like 80 years ago.
Dan said that to me too. Like,
well, once you got the tie on, they got you.
He's like, they got you.
Yeah.
And I answered with how I feel. It's like, I don't mind a tie. I would be fine if we had to wear the same uniform every day. I want the decision taken out of my hands. Like, I wish we had a wardrobe department and endless money that they just suited us up.
And I do think you look sharp.
On NFL Now, they always wear ties. And the reason I put it on today is I was sitting. I saw a video of myself last week, and it looked sloppier next to those guys who aren't wearing it. And it's not like I look cool without it. I look dorky either way. So
I thought you looked California casual before you put the tie on.
Okay.
And then the glasses too.
Well, yeah, I like wearing the glasses when there's no sun. It's raining today.
Gotcha.
It's a rare day.
You used to have the glasses that would turn into sunglasses with the sun,
creepy.
and I think that was you were a little young to be sporting
I've asked Emeka to force some glasses, like maybe an array of them, and maybe get them into the mix more. I love wearing some glasses.
By the way, at NFL Network, they outfit the women, but not the men. What if you started a reverse
like
Time's
Irvin.
Up movement to try to get us suited and booted? I feel like it would go well. Make it very public.
I think they don't outfit us. Some of these players are
I was
in like
say,
pink suits with top hats. I mean,
they
please.
don't.
Well, then if you're Michael Irvin,
I want you to lead
someone in Michael Irvin's
the way
life
on that, Dan.
Someone in Michael Irvin's life is telling him, I think it's a good week for you to wear the pink suit and the top hat with the fur coat. Like, he's not coming up with all that on his own.
All right, let's move on to the draft. I think he most certainly
is. I kind of think he is. He seems like a fashionable guy. No.
I think what happens to everyone on these TV shows is clothing becomes one of the most important things in their life. It has not reached that point with me. We appear occasionally on the network.
That's a very unfair thing for you to say, because because they have stylists and can afford it doesn't mean that becomes more important to them than
or that you like it, yeah.
Or it makes you somehow
like
more about ball.
You're kind of getting into it, though.
You can critique me all you want. It's just how I feel. I think clothing becomes a focal point for people that suddenly exist in a different world.
All right. And with that said, let's take a
that was not the jovial. That could have been more jovial, but
let's take a break and then get to the draft, please.
That could have been more jovial. What?
All right, let's get into it, starting with the number 1 overall pick. The old Zeuser has the number 1 pick, Dan Zeus. And I will go because...
That's double third person.
Well, nothing is surprising at this point.
Nothing, it is surprising, though. Marc went out of his way to tell me that he doesn't want to watch the Browns on Sunday. So I will go and take the Ravens at Browns with the first overall pick. I love this game. I love how messy and sloppy and imperfect the AFC North is. No team really, to me, profiles as a Super Bowl team. But that doesn't mean it's not fun to watch them roll around in the mud a little bit in December. And I think the Ravens, coming off a very difficult loss to the Steelers, where they gave up 17 points to a Big Ben team in 2021 in the fourth quarter, get the big score at the end of the game. Gregg, I did watch that 2-point conversion repeatedly, and I think you really could make a case for both sides. I'm not willing to say that you're right and it was not Lamar's fault at all, but I'm also not going to say he blew it and missed a wide-open Mark Andrews either. He did get the space, but he had a drop down at 3 quarters.
It was a tricky throw, and there's been some argument that Andrews flattened out the route and slowed down a little more. When it comes down to that minuscule of a thing, it's a little of both.
He was open.
It wasn't a great play by anyone.
Right.
Almost
except for the Steelers, except for TJ Watt.
Right.
So anyway, the Ravens now, they go to Cleveland to face the Browns. And this feels like, and I know it's wide open the AFC, and even if the Browns lost this game, blah, 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 they could get back into things. But I think the Browns are cooked if they lose to the Ravens in this game. I think they are a team that's hanging on by a thread. This idea, they went into the season as a Super Bowl contender in the eyes of many, and it's been such a difficult season. There have been ups, there have been downs, but I feel like the Ravens come to your building and whip your butt and drop you to 6-7, and they go to 9-4. The walls come in on Cleveland. So maybe that motivates them, Marc. Maybe that they know that. Maybe their backs are against the wall and they deliver a big performance, which they are capable of. But I think those are the stakes here.
One of their traits under Kevin Stefanski has been bouncing back from darkness, from bad losses. They've done a pretty good job of that, especially last season. But I agree with your point so much, Dan, that this is what I wrote in my notes. If the Browns lose this, it's not unfair to call this season a total disaster. I don't care about the mathematical contingencies of them sneaking into some wild card spot. They've been outshined by every team in the AFC North. And if I said back in April this is the situation they'd be in, 6-6, with the potential to have lost to the Steelers and been swept by the Ravens, that is as ugly as a prediction as there would have been about the Browns back then.
Well, especially considering what Baltimore's had to go through to get here injury-wise and what they're facing now. There's this feeling in Baltimore now that not only could, the division be up for grabs, but that the playoffs aren't guaranteed. I feel like people are overreacting to that missed 2-point conversion because, as Dan's been pointing out, this is kind of who the Ravens have been all season. Like living, trying hard despite all the injuries, making some things work, but like living on the edge. And yet they now look at Marlon Humphrey, their best cornerback, being out for the season. They now look at Patrick McCarry, maybe been their best offensive lineman at right tackle. Kind of been a revelation, really helped that offensive line, replacing Orlando Brown, out for a few weeks. And they're feeling like, are we over the precipice of the injury situation where now we don't do anything particularly well? Like the one thing they did well was throw the ball down the field and outside the numbers, and Lamar Jackson's in a slump that really goes back to week 6. Like that's a long slump. So as much as the Browns are looking at themselves with a lot of question marks, they're a little healthier. I know they might be short their tight ends, but they're still healthier overall, and their defense is healthier maybe than it's been all season. And they have to be looking at this as an opportunity. There's 5 games left, and if you're trying to pick one of these teams in the NFL who can change their story down the stretch, because some teams will, for good and bad. Some teams will think totally different about going into Week 18 than we do right now. The Browns at least are a strong candidate to be one of those teams because it's all there. The division's there in front of them. The players are there on the field for the most part. They got to just show up and do it.
I want to throw something out because, Marc, you've coined the term years ago about the team that struggled but then causes issues down the stretch, the berserker.
Berserker team.
I think on the other side of that, the underperforming team that you keep an eye on because they can get hot and all of a sudden find their way right into the mix, the championship mix, I call them a disruptor. That's what I think the Browns could be.
The Ravens have been that team in the past very often.
That's still disappointing if you're the Browns. I mean, I don't.
Hey, you win 3 straight or something here, you'll forget about all of this. But it's just, do they have that in them?
I don't like the makeup of the team right now. I mean, it's no small thing that you don't have your punter. And having Harrison Bryant and David Njoku, your 2 tight ends, is huge in the run game. They held the Browns to 40 yards rushing last time, dominated them at the line, and Browns had 4 interceptions and got 3 points out of it.
This game is fast. The Ravens got to solve this blitzing thing. I mean, I love Lamar. I love this Ravens staff, but they don't have an answer right now for when teams are blitzing them. It's not like you don't have to be an expert to see what's going on here. And this is a game I think Cleveland get very aggressive, get creative, cause some problems. Good pick.
I've been weirdly on Aaron Donald's case the last couple of weeks. Kind of been fun. But really, go win a game in a big spot, and you could do that in Arizona. Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's having a great year, but absolutely cause havoc and put your team on your back in this spot. He has that ability as well. One other thing with
You're not going to watch this one, Marc.
I mean, I will eventually, but
you didn't want it to be your main game.
I know what teams fascinate me right now.
Wow.
Well, the Browns will always fascinate you the most, though.
I know, but it's like it's been a long-term relationship that's bordered on abusive, and I need a little bit of a breathing room.
All right.
We were on a break!
All right. Lamar hasn't had a rushing touchdown since week 2 either. Like, that's one thing that was jumping out to me last week. That used to be a major part of their offense. The chunk plays on the ground, and it opened up the passing game. That element of the game is missing as well. It's just been their offense is not easy to watch right now. All right, the 2nd overall pick, Marc Sessler.
All right, well, I talked about teams that fascinate me. This is a pet team versus pet team, a kitty clash. Like, I like these 2 teams so much that I can't wait to see what happens. The 6-6 49ers versus the 7-5 Bengals. Gregg, last week you felt that it was too much, it was too unrealistic, and it just didn't fit for the Bengals to beat the Chargers and get to 8-4. Is 8-5 palatable enough for you? This game to me is the one most. If I were to pick,
I think it's doable. I think either one of these, but no. To use that test, it makes more sense that both these teams would be 7-6.
Oh no!
So if I was using that same test,
that's why I wanted to ask that.
This particular game is not working out well for Cincinnati. Every time we play it, it's like, no, they need another loss. No, give them another one.
Well, it's more because also the 49ers definitely feel like better than a 6-6 team to me.
They do. Well, I think their season. I mean, if we're looking at the Rams and these other teams in the NFC West, San Francisco, that it was the hottest team in the conference outside of the Cardinals a week or 2 ago. has to show up here. And the one lingering image that concerns me, because last week I thought the Bengals were killed and went down early because we finally had Justin Herbert dialing up big shots downfield and one-on-one coverage. And the Bengals allowed them to do that to their error and climb back into that game because I think they are still a really good team. But the image that stuck with me on Sunday was Kyle Shanahan, who's a pretty mild-mannered on the sideline. He's not some screamer, but he lost his cool with Jimmy G after the antics of the end zone safety, a terrible interception, getting stuffed on 3rd and 1. And it's like, we don't trust Jimmy G to go do what Justin Herbert just did to the Bengals on any level. I think if we get Deebo Samuel in this, that will be massive.
Where are we at on that on Thursday?
He didn't practice Wednesday, but there was some optimism before that. So it's confusing.
This typically doesn't mean anything, but last week he was resolute and like, oh, I'll be playing next week. I'm only missing one game. We'll see what that actually means, but just something to keep an eye on.
You got Burrow's dislocated finger. I know it's being like, that's not a big deal. Well, I mean, did you see what it looked like? It seems like it would be a mild deal.
It was something to keep an eye on.
It was very swollen, but he came and played fantastic, I thought, after that injury. I think Joe Burrow's having an underrated season somehow. To me, he just is so much better this year than he was as a rookie, even though the mobility, especially early, was down. So it's a game where you trust the Bengals quarterback more, but you trust, at least I trust, the 49ers operation more. Like, why can't we have a George Kittle game like that more often? The Bengals are one of the worst teams in the league in terms of giving up plays up the seams. That's where Jimmy G is usually good, although it's also where he throws interceptions quite often. But George Kittle, Deebo, hopefully he's back. Ayuk, like, plays up the seams, mashing the ball. I do think the Bengals defense is a little vulnerable in that way. Who are you going to root for, Marc?
That's what I love about it. I feel like I can sit back and totally enjoy it. But I much more would want the Bengals to take a minor dirt nap.
I think Shanahan was also annoyed. I'm glad we can mention this here because I forgot in the Cardinals that Kingsbury showed up after the bye week with a Shanahan-like beard and a Shanahan flat brim hat. And I was like, like, he looked a lot like Shanahan, and I think he was kind of saying, I'm the new Shanahan in the NFC West.
Wow. That is hot. That's a hot take. I love that take. And these guys definitely notice these things.
Oh, definitely.
These are the things like when I almost saw two head coaches fight at the Combine a few years ago. Like, they notice everything.
Right, and Kingsbury, he cares about how he looks, and that's fine. Everyone does.
To my point, but I guess I'm not allowed to make that point.
To some degree. I'm just saying he waited for that bye week because he didn't want to be in the in-between, while he was on the sideline. He timed it out for the bye week, grew that beard, wore that flapper.
It seemed like you were making an insinuation, Marc, that at a certain point, if you reach a level in this industry, it becomes more about how you look than ball. That seemed to be what you were saying.
That is my point.
Yeah.
But I think the same people who care about it on air, they cared a lot before they were on air. And then there's the reverse. Some people kind of don't care in either way.
I don't doubt that. I just feel like maybe I want to be there. Give me that wardrobe and I'll start being a clothes horse.
We're getting somewhere.
But I can't handle, like, how do I go build a huge wardrobe of my own without A, money, B, I have we don't have any room in our house to store 4,000 extra shirts.
Well, that's why you use a locker here.
Well, I'm just saying it's too much. It's beyond my.
I don't need that either.
Something I'll deal with next year.
It's like how we get our own parking spaces right by the entrance, and I'm the only one that uses it because you guys are so working class, I guess. Same thing, Marc. We are. Let's not hide from the fact that they give us our own lockers basically now in a dressing room. And yours is the only one that's completely empty.
The parking space thing is only because from what I hear, and you and I actually, I passed you today and gave you an adult hand gesture.
You seem like you have a big, we don't have a problem with you.
I don't care at all. I just don't want to have to
shut up because that's what we're entitled to.
But we've never,
sure.
I've never thought about it for more than 2 seconds.
I don't want to have the it's worth it to not have the social interaction of making someone get up, which is fine. Everyone has their own.
That's the thing.
Making
a man come over and take a cone away so that I can park. It's just that I don't even know how to. There's no one even to talk to when I get to that level.
That's part of that person's job. Their
sure.
security.
I'm just saying. I don't even see them.
Put the cone there.
I don't see them when I get there, and it's just my parking spot is maybe 40 yards away around a bend. I'm good
to get a little. You can get those steps in. Get a little.
Anyways,
that's what it's about. All right.
What is this? We went way off topic there.
Hang Oh, I thought Aaron Glenn got fired in our email, but he didn't. Not yet. All right. Let's
They're
see.
playing well lately, those fighting Lions.
Let's move on. And up next is Gregg.
I can't believe you left Bills Bucks to the third pick. It's the game of the week. It might be the game of the year for me. I mean, okay, that's overstating.
There's like 27 of those.
It's not even the game of the week. Rams Cardinals a little better. But this is Romo, Nance. And I am just fascinated by this because of the matchup. First of all, Tom Brady said the minute he was off the field last week, next game is our biggest game of the year. And he's like the last person who ever gets like that. And I was like, why did he say that? First of all, he's got, a thing with Buffalo, blah, blah, blah. But he sees them as like a Super Bowl contender, as a real test. And you almost get a sense with these Bucks and just the way that the schedule worked out that, A, they're not being tested, that they're almost having to rev themselves up to get these, wins taken care of, and they've done a good job of it against the Falcons, like Giants, games like that. And then you look at the rest of their schedule. Sure, they're going to be fired up for that game against the Saints, but they don't play a team with a winning record the rest of the season until the playoffs. And I think Tom Brady was fully aware of that when he said it. I think he wants everyone healthy and back for this game. I think he has questions about his team and how they're going to stand up in a big spot. And as much as Buffalo has struggled lately, on paper, they match up pretty well with Tampa in that they're a passing team, and the Buccaneers defense is vulnerable to the pass. Like, if ever there is a week for Brian Daboll to ignore Sean McDermott and just throw the ball 45 times, I think this is it. Can we see the old Bills passing attack in perfect conditions against a banged-up secondary? Even as the Bucks get some of their players back, they lose Mike Edwards to suspension. Jamel Dean has a concussion. Whitehead was out last week. Don't think he might not be back, and so they're still vulnerable. This is a game where I think the Bills need to outscore Tampa.
This stretch,
as opposed to every other week when you don't want to outscore the opponent.
Like not outscoring would be not optimal.
I just mean you're going to have to put up 35 or something.
This stretch, this Patriots, Bucks, you got the Panthers in there, then the Patriots again. It's the acid test for Buffalo. It's kind of it reminds me, I don't know why this came into my head, but like when John Lennon had that lost year in Los Angeles where he was on the outs with Yoko Ono, and his life went off the rails, but you come out of it having learned something about yourself and maybe having grown. This to me is it for the Bills, because what we think about them has changed so remarkably. For me, the New England game, like we can't say all last week, it really matters what happens against the Patriots and then blame it on the weather that it doesn't matter. And I know Gregg, I'm not just pointing to you. I feel like there's a lot of like, well, actually, no, we still really believe in the Bills. And I believe in them a little bit less because of the way they were.
You loved this team a year ago.
I love the idea of the Bills my whole life. I mean, I
just feel like it's hard to say like the Bills were exposed on Monday night, given how strange it was because of the weather. It doesn't mean that it wasn't disappointing or that the fact that they're 7-5 is a massive letdown from what expectations were. And that's why this game I'm really pumped to see, because this is gut check time.
Do you see my point though? It's like we're deferring the now it matters for the Bills.
I don't know.
We were saying all this
before
last
that
week.
game started, and as a fan watching it, I kind of thought, I don't know what this game tells me at all. Whether the Patriots win or lose, it's sort of a one-off in that it's so unique.
I see what you're saying, Marc. That it's pushing the goalposts
back. The Patriots are playing in that weather too, but that's fine,
But the
Patriots could have lost, and I wouldn't have thought that they were a worse team because of it.
That's my point. That the weather made it so weird that you almost have to, or at least I do, and I guess Gregg agrees, that just kind of hold judgment still on the Bills. Let's get them against Tampa on the road, and if the Bills really are messed up or doomed, as you said on Tuesday, then they will lose this game. And they will beat the Panthers the next week probably, and they'll lose again to New England, and that will be their fate. I'm just not ready to go there. I think there is maybe something within this team and maybe a frustrating loss where not only did you get beat in a really tough game in prime time, after the game you were rubbed the wrong way, the way people try to spin the game as some type of addressing weaknesses that were exposed in a big spot. I think they're mad about all that. I think the Bucs are in trouble. I think the Bills are going to win this game. I'll go that far. I think they got this.
I don't want to go down like hot take avenue with this like I did with like multiple teams in both conferences a week ago. It is a layer cake to me of displeasure for the Bills because the first layer is the Titans' loss. The second layer is that Jaguars debacle. The third layer was getting totally thumped and outmanned by the Colts. The fourth layer is the Patriots game. How many more layers on this cake do we need for me to lose a little bit of faith that this team is not last year's team?
You've lost it.
Beyond
They're not.
McDermott's own words and frustration.
You don't have any more faith. You're out.
I don't have no faith.
You said they were doomed.
I'm in a different place than you. Like, if they beat the Bucs, I will allow some of those sins to float down the river. But I don't just ignore the game because it was in poor weather or anything else that's happened. It's all part of the story.
That's fair, and yet when I look at this matchup, it's not the things that everyone's talking about that I'm worried about the Bills. It is their passing game. It is Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Sanders, Knox, Gabe Davis. Because for this team to make sense, and I think that's why McDermott's so frustrated, they need to be like the 2020 Bills. They're having the same feelings that the Chiefs are having right now, except when they're going up against good team, they're having a tougher schedule, basically. You look at this matchup, Bills-Bucks. Can the Bills really get after Tom Brady? I don't know. I don't really.
No one could a week ago.
No one. Yeah, and that was Atlanta. But even then, like, Tristan Wirfs hasn't given up a pressure since week 8. Tom Brady's still the best quarterback in football, I think, when he's given time. Like, Josh Allen isn't that close. So if you got that big of an edge at quarterback, I don't think to me the coaching is a wash here, and you give the Bucs a little bit of an edge.
Great game. Can't wait to watch it.
Oh, wow. What a freaking pick at number 3.
I'm annoyed.
Maybe one of the best. I'm about to have one of the best drafts anyone's had all year.
I gave Dan a good draft. I feel like I helped make you happy.
The reason why I didn't take it, Gregg, is because I knew my late afternoon is going to be Bills at Bucs and Niners at Bengals. So all I needed was to take my Ravens and Browns, and then hopefully those 2 games stay on Marc by the time I come back around. Didn't work out that way for the old Zeuser.
Well, that's doing a disservice to your other 4 p.m. game. I'm taking an early game now, and
Wait. Before you go,
Oh.
calm down. We have someone else that wants to talk about this game. It's a Wessling brother.
Hello, heroes. Phil here. Week 14, and the Wessling boys desperately need a win. I only have one recording this week, or maybe another one if things start going sideways mid-game. I've had 0 input from my brothers, so you know what that means. No Bengals, and it's up to Mackie and me. Sean McDermott, you got outcoached last week by the GOAT when the Pats only threw 3 passes and you couldn't even own it. This week you're going against another GOAT who is guaranteed to throw more than 3 passes unless Fournette runs all over you. Mackie says look for Mike Evans to pop off. Bucks over Bills. Lock it up.
Yeah!
There is a delicious little irony that the people of Western New York aren't going to want to hear, but there is a chance that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick end your season, and they're on 2 different teams.
Forces again. I hadn't even thought about that.
Weeks.
You're joining forces. That's help
All right, good
the
luck.
old guys out, Tommy.
And by the way, Nick Wessling he sent 2 files last week, and one I guess was I don't listen. The Wessling brothers send me a file. I never listen until the show. And he said he sent one and then said, actually, don't use that one. Use this one. So I was like, okay. And I sent that one on to Ricky. I need to just get out of this business. They just need to send it straight to Ricky. But it's amazing to me. So Nick was telling the truth. He did have 2 files, one locking up the Bengals, one locking up the Chargers. But who does that?
Well, he also did you dirty, I thought, on Twitter, and we don't need to go down that road. But how about this? Being a middleman is never a good role. You don't need to be a middleman at this point. It's not smart for you.
I think I got to get out of the middleman. Ricky, going forward, can we just get the Wessling brothers to send it to you?
Yeah, sure. Works for me.
All right. Here we go. Let's move on, Gregg. Sorry, without further ado, Greggy with the snakes.
It's Cowboys. It's the Washington football team. It's early. It's important. If Washington wins this game, I'm excited about this game. I really am, because I have somewhat openly thought this Washington run a little phony. Not quite buying it. Like, it's fine. Like, it makes sense. They deserve credit. They've beaten some bad offenses with some well-coached defense. Like, give Ron Rivera a lot of credit. Taylor Heineke playing better for a month overall than I expected. But to me, they're still a 7 or 8 type of win team. And now you're going up against Dallas in a game where, okay, it's DeMarcus Lawrence's second game back. Cooper was just coming off COVID, wasn't totally right in terms of the snap count a week ago. Now they've got a little extra rest coming off that Thursday game. It's Lamb, Cooper, Martin, Tyron Smith, Gallup, Zeke, all of those guys had actually never played together with Lyle Collins until a week ago. And now here we're back again. And oh, by the way, you add Randy Gregory, who looked like a Pro Bowler earlier in the season, is back. Neville Gallimore, who's their best interior lineman from a year ago, is going to play for the first time all season. I think this Washington offensive line has been well coached up, but it's like, I don't think Taylor Heineke can go up and down the field on this defense. And if you can't do that, I think this game ends up being a little sideways, and that's why I'm locking up the Cowboys. That's right.
Dramatic pause.
Well, we'll edit that out.
And I was trying to no, I love that cap. I was trying to figure out like who do I lock up this week, and then I heard Mike McCarthy.
We're going to win this game. I'm confident in that.
Yeah, baby. I'm locking up the boys too.
Oh, I thought you might flip
because,
it. That was somehow
you know
a bad
who else
sign.
is back? It's Mike McCarthy.
Yes.
The mastermind behind it all. Yeah, Marky.
Well, so what we often frown on Cowboys hubris. In this case, I kind of love what he did. I'm with you. I think this is maybe where the rainbow ends for Washington. It's just I don't like the matchup on any level. A lot of things have gone right for them. That said, if Dallas lost this, utter chaos would be unleashed on that organization.
Well, did you hear play Mike McCarthy again, Ricky? Please.
We're going to win this game. I'm confident in that.
It sounds
it is spoken.
He sounds a little bit like he's. Does he sound that confident?
No,
when he
it looks
said
like he's like, I'm looking past this game. We're going to win this game, and then we're going to move on and continue to win football games.
We'll see.
The NFC East is theirs if they win this game. And yeah, I'm with you, Greg. Everything you said is the reason why I locked the game up. I think Washington deserves credit for making their season interesting, especially with Chase Young going down. Montez Sweat, by the way, we talked about his broken jaw. And he is supposed to come back, but then he got COVID, and he's not vaccinated.
That's
so
a tough month.
He is out
broken jaw and corona.
Yeah, he is out now for at least 10 days, I think is what it is, and then he has to not test positive and all that stuff. So it's been a nice story that the defense has gotten off the mat, even though they're undermanned. Taylor Heineke has been obviously a nice story. Antonio Gibson is a really good player. But they shouldn't have won last week. All right, they did win. The Raiders blew that game in 3 different ways. I didn't think the Washington football team played that well in that game and got away with some things. I think it ends here. The buck stops here. The Cowboys take control of the NFC East.
Question for you, and I hate to keep doing this, but was it a nice story that they waxed the Buccaneers, the team that we now call the team that will decide what we think of the Buffalo Bills? I mean, I'm just saying Washington is not right. This is not a fluky scenario. They have shored things up. We've seen this under Ron Rivera before. The offense, I think, has grown as much as the defense.
You gonna lock them up?
No, I'm good with my lock.
No, I'm with you. Like that's why it's like well in the lock zone. Like it wouldn't stun me that Washington won this game because I think they've shown us who they are, which is a pretty close to average competitive team. I believe the Cowboys are better than that. To be fair, and we talked about it on Tuesday with Jane. They haven't shown it. Not offensively. I think their defense has been pretty consistent in who they are. They're spunky. They're sparky. They're overachievers. They're fine. It's the offense. It's Dak and all the weapons actually that haven't been able to get into full flow, and that included in that Saints game. That they had 7 possessions. Taysom Hill kept turning it back over, but I just believe in talent over the long run that it will come around. They're too talented.
Well, and it's one of these things whenever they say like this offense versus this surging defense, they match up really well. And the Cowboys have the second most points per game in the league, the first in yardage, and a lot of that is weighted from earlier in the year when they weren't in this post-Broncos slump. But it always favors the offense when that stuff happens. I don't love the matchup for Washington. And
I will say that the Cowboys, and we talked about this with Jane, and I thought it was an interesting theory. Well, I don't know what it means ultimately, but he hasn't played that well since he came back from the calf. Jane said she wonders if there's some type of mental component to it, the calf injury, the leg injury last year, that he's not trusting his body in the same way, and that might be affecting his play. I don't know, but he has not been as good. They need Dak to really light him up.
He's been so different, too. He's actually, I think, made more big-time throws in the last 2 games than any 2-game stretch all season. Like more like, oh my God throws. But he hasn't been doing this stuff where he like reads everything and knows what's going on, and he hasn't looked like poised or comfortable. It's like the total opposite of how he started.
They let
season.
the Saints hang around in that game, and a lot of it was
he
missed
didn't play
throws
well.
by Dak.
He
All
didn't
right,
play well.
let's take a break, and then we will move on. All right, we're back. Mark, it is back to you, buddy.
Well, I'm going to pick a late afternoon game here. I'm going to go Giants at Chargers, based entirely on my interest in the Chargers, based not on any level in my interest of the Giants. I mean, look, we're back here again, though, with Corona, because Keenan Allen, who is vaccinated, has COVID, has a chance to play. It sounds like that he probably will, because the 5-day window started on Monday. Mike Williams was a close.
He has COVID though?
Well, he's in that COVID world where we don't know. I don't know
COVID
exactly what happened to him. But Mike
world.
Williams was a close contact. He's not vaccinated. They still say he has a chance to play based on when it all occurred. Chris Harris on the defense also was a close contact. So if you ever weren't with Williams or Keenan Allen, which I think they will be, it would kind of unspool everything that we saw Herbert and Mike Williams achieve last week, which was a long-awaited deep shots downfield that took some of this heat off of Joe Lombardi. On the Giants side, it sounds like Daniel Jones has a chance to play on where we are here on Thursday. Mike Glennon has a concussion at this point. If he couldn't go, Jake Fromm, State Farm, I guess, is like the third guy in that whole mix. Give me a break.
I mean, I'm with you. The G-men are a conversation for the offseason at this point. I think with the Chargers, it's like, okay, guys, let us know. Like,
handle your business.
Get back to us, after this Sunday of games, and let us know if we should take you seriously, because they could be a disruptor in the AFC. They could be a team that comes up, goes from being an inconsistent up and down entity to bang, all of a sudden they're playing the AFC title game. They have that type of ceiling, but you need to see that consistency. They need to do what the Colts have mastered, which is, you're giving us a layup on the schedule. We're going to slam that mother down.
We're going to handle it.
We are going to take care of business.
I loved what I saw out of their defensive line last week. It was by far their best defensive line performance of the year. It kind of came out of nowhere. Bosa wasn't even on the field. They've also been a good run defense since their bye. Like, that idea that that's their huge weakness isn't borne out by stats or the eye test for about 5 weeks now. They've kind of solved that. So you see some things coming around. Mike Williams is loosely expected to play because he's the close contact.
Right.
Keenan Allen, would have to pass the test. As much as people got on Rodgers for being unvaccinated, I haven't seen anyone get COVID on a Monday and play on a Sunday. I've been watching this, so it's unlikely. It's possible,
That's
but
like
it's
the
unlikely.
worst beat to be on COVID timing beat.
terrible.
Right, because everyone makes this huge deal. It's like, well, then you're going to at least be out a week if you're unvaccinated. Show me the vaccinated guys that are testing negative just 5 days later. It's hard to do.
Optimism on these
right.
reports threw me, because you're right. It's so atypical.
But
with
Mike
what we've
Williams
seen this
should be
season.
back because he's a close contact, and Chris Harris.
I know we don't want to talk about the Giants, but no Giants running back or wide receiver has scored a touchdown since October 24th. It does not speak to the talent. It speaks that they have had zero availability of their roster. It costs their offensive coordinator getting fired. It's just like this Giants team needs to go to sleep.
And they got a coach afraid of his own shadow, calling punts while he's down 4 in the opposing territory. Mike Glennon on your quarterback. Jake Fromm. Give me a break.
Come on. All right. Let's move on. I am up. Ooh, I'm in a tough spot here. You guys bang me in the biggest of all spots. I will grab the Raiders at Chiefs in the early window. Kind of puts me in a tough situation with the Jets, but I'll live with it. All right. Same thing. The Raiders, I think the Raiders are an also-ran, ultimately. I've gotten to the point where I've seen enough of them to know how this is going to end. It's going to end in a little bit of disappointment, 8-9, 9-8. So what interests me more, and I could be wrong because everyone's been wrong all season in 2021. Maybe the Raiders rise up. Maybe that starting here, they beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead, then they go to Cleveland and win, and then they win at Denver and they're 9-6 with 2 weeks to go. Maybe that happens. Probably not, though. I think the Chiefs, again, with their defense playing as well as it has, and with the Raiders accepting the one game on Thanksgiving night, that offense has been as bad as it's been. We're going to get another one of these 22-9 wins for the Chiefs, because I am out of the business finally, effectively Sunday night, of saying I think the Chiefs are going to come around on offense. I just don't see it.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's not
what about
a slump.
again? But when they play the Raiders, That was the one game. That was the 40 bomber that everyone was like, everything's solved. But no, it was like, actually, you just were playing the Raiders, and that matchup works for you.
And
but maybe it'll work again.
Maybe, but it's not a slump anymore. It's something systemically wrong with what they're doing, or it's the personnel, or whatever it is. I think it's more likely at this point that this is something they could fix in the offseason than something they could fix in December and January. That's where I'm at. And that's why the defense, as good as it's been, they strike me as a team that is going to get picked off in January, and it's going to be seen as a big upset.
Wow.
But at the same time, now it's come down to Steve Spags having a bad day at the office to save the Chiefs. I think that's the more likely destination. So, yes, I like the Chiefs this week. I like them in another low-scoring win where the defense carries the day and Mahomes does just enough. But I think the Chiefs have major issues.
Do you like them by 9.5 points? This was one of the toughest games, I thought, to pick against the spread.
It's going to be right there. It's going to be like a 22-9 game.
That's how they get you. That's how they get you. I think they can solve their problems this season because I think a lot of it is on Patrick Mahomes. He's just not as accurate. Like I think there are plays there to be made. A lot of the interceptions have been bad luck and everything, but he also just is missing a lot of throws. Like if you look at him and Stafford, I think are very similar in that if you look at their like on target throw rate that like PFF does in terms of putting the ball in the right spot, in terms of ball location, like they've just been missing a lot of throws, and hasn't been the case with Mahomes. I don't know why that is, and I think it can change. I've seen too much good play out of him. I can't imagine that Andy Reid just doesn't know how to coach offensive football and they don't have the right players.
But that's not it either. It's not that Andy Reid is no longer a good coach or Mahomes is no longer the most talented quarterback of his generation. There's just something in the mix here.
Yes.
That's beyond like a body switch comedy, and now it's Rich Kotite coaching and Ken O'Brien a quarterback. Like something else is going on here.
I mean, before I knew you guys, I was stuck in these like laundry list of terrible corporate jobs. And one Christmas, they gave us as a gift.
You're welcome, by the way. We saved you from that life.
Me and Dan.
That's true. I was hired before you and taught you how to use the computer system, Dan. But I'll look at it that way. But
you're like Jim Ryan in that Good Day in New York YouTube video.
Right.
Well, I'm not your boss anymore.
That's more to Gregg. But they gave us this book, that hideous corporate book, Good to Great, which I threw right in a trash can. But I think the Chiefs are more authoring like a sequel that I think more people can relate to, which is like Great to Good. Like that's what they are this year. It's fine. And like if you look at even some of the best quarterbacks, and I think Mahomes came out like such a fireball, and it's the way he plays. It's not the same throw every time. He does things that are special, that are visually off the charts. But every quarterback has these seasons where after a couple great years, they regress a little bit. And I think that the function of the whole offense is part of it. And you look at Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce's numbers, we just assume that they're off too. Like Tyreek Hill's numbers are still incredible compared to other wideouts in the league and stuff. They just don't seem to have that special sauce this year. And I think it's just who they are.
Kelsey's a little older. Sneaky old. 32.
I mean, I guess like I'm wondering. I think it's
good
just
numbers,
very much
to your point. He's still
you're
on
saying
pace for
Travis
12.
Kelce's in decline physically?
I think slightly, yeah.
Whoa,
I just think that we're like, and Dan, I'm happy to hear you say that you've gotten off this train, because we could all be wrong. Like that's pretty much 80% of what we do. But like, I'm not waiting around for them to be the Chiefs offense from 2 years ago. And I don't see it.
I think the Chiefs fans who are trying to make the point, like if the Patriots have this run or the Ravens have this run with these scores, like no one's complaining about the style points, that there is something to.
Everyone's complaining.
That's what I mean. Like if it was those teams winning with those scores, no one would be complaining about the Patriots or the Ravens. And yet, because it's the Chiefs, everyone's complaining. They do get some credit for the institutional value of, like, we know how to win games. Like, we win more than everyone else. For the Bills and the Browns and these teams that don't know how to stack year after year, well, here we are, the Chiefs, tied for the best record, or 1.5 game behind in the AFC for the 4th straight year. Now, they're doing it in a different way, but they do get a little credit here where it's all the same people running the ship that have gotten them to 8-4 despite some problems.
In a really blasé, low-grade AFC, yes.
Right, but they beat the Packers. Granted, Jordan left. That one didn't kind of count. But they beat the Cowboys. They've had moments.
And a point that you made Tuesday, or I guess the Monday Night Football crew made Tuesday about the Patriots, was like, oh, the only difference between this year and last year is they have better players now. It's also the AFC is worse this year than it was last year.
Right.
So that really has helped a team like the Patriots and a team like the Chiefs, who I think, because the AFC has been what it is, have been able to win 8 of 12 despite having major offensive issues. And by the way, if there's one thing...
Win this game, Raiders. Cause some chaos.
One thing that I want to be wrong about is the Chiefs' offense and them turning it on, because the league is just more fun when Mahomes' greatness is on display in a really profound way. So maybe it happens. But there's just so much evidence now that it won't. All right.
I feel like an anarchist, but I kind of like I kind of like him not being like the centerpiece every week.
Yeah,
but
but
I hear what you're saying.
How about when we were watching Sunday Night Football and we're bored to tears?
Yeah, but I was much more bored with the team they were playing, which we'll get to at some point in this show.
I know, but the fact that we're bored watching the Chiefs on
Marc's
offense.
Marc's been wanting Mahomes to fall for years. He's sick of the shiny boy.
I like Mahomes. But when I hear like the league's just so much better when like the Cowboys are good, or the league's so much better when fill in the blank. It's like I typically agree with like 30% of those, and I don't need the Chiefs to like go blow everyone out week after week and being hearing about Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. It's a little personal. I get it, because it happened against the Browns back to back. But beyond that, I simply don't. It doesn't make my life so much better. I like other teams too.
I was slow on the uptake on that one. I didn't realize.
That is a piece of it. It is not the entire thing.
All right, let's snake it, and it's now it's getting sloppy. So let's pick up the pace here. I will grab the Saints at Jets. The Saints, it is for them lose and see you next year. You could say it's already that place for them, because they've
only one out.
Yeah, they've been so bad for a long stretch now. But yeah, one game out at 5-7, and they're at the Meadowlands, but no one's scared to go and play the Jets in Jersey. So this profiles against a Jets defense that has been unbelievably poor. Like, that's, to me, people could say, what's the biggest disappointment about this latest poor Jets season? Is it Zach Wilson not really fulfilling promise early on? No, because I'm not totally surprised by that. Considering where he came out of college and the fact that he's so raw, we'll see what happens down the line. The Jets' defense being the worst in football by a long shot, that was not expected. Even after Carl Lawson went out with the injury, and then eventually Marcus May, the fact that they would give up 7 consecutive touchdown or scoring drives to Gardner Minshew, that they would just get embarrassed on Thursday Night Football by the Colts in a way that was ungodly. So if Taysom Hill's healthy enough to play at a strong level compared to what his skill set is, the Saints are going to score a lot of points in this game, and it's going to be a Saints romp, because the Jets defense has reached the point where they do not compete.
And you get Alvin Kamara back, expected to play. Mark Ingram and Cam Jordan are on the COVID list. Give me a break. This is like worse than last year. But the Jets' third worst run defense, DVOA-wise. They've allowed 100 yards on the ground twice all year, and they have been utterly thrashed in other weeks. So it just, with who the Saints have and the way they're built, it sets up well for New Orleans.
Well, they're getting healthier, except for those COVID issues. That would end a consecutive start streak or game streak by Cam Jordan that I believe goes his entire career.
Dates back to the late 1800s.
Pretty amazing for a defensive end. I don't think he's ever missed a game. Taysom Hill's practicing, is expected to start. They're going to get one of their 2 tackles back, it sounds like. Teron Armstead, Ryan Ramchek's still out of practice. The Jets are very banged up, actually, missing quite a number of starters in practice, including both their top running backs have concussions, and Elijah Moore has a quad injury and hasn't practiced. So it's a mess.
Michael Carter's on the IR.
Right. I was thinking of Marcus Davenport's also back for the Saints. It's like with the Saints, it's often just like, who's playing for this team? If enough people are playing, they're pretty darn competitive, and I think it's a very difficult matchup for your boy Zach Wilson. If he doesn't have his running game, it's very hard to run against the Saints, and he doesn't have Elijah Moore. And Dennis Allen, I think, has done a great job this year, and I think is a particularly difficult guy to go up against for these young quarterbacks, because they're just going to send a lot at him.
I don't know if you mentioned Corey Davis. He's out for the year.
I didn't. Yeah.
He just had core surgery. He had a groin issue that got worse last week, and that is just like the Jets curse with these free agents. Every free agent they sign either plays well below what they expected, or they get hurt. It's just like go through the list.
Well, they have to get to a point where they're not having to make splash free agency moves every year to become
Corey
a team.
Davis isn't even a splash. It was just like a nice
but
signing.
there are
but,
multiple
yeah,
splash people that have not worked out. So.
it is what
Saints
it is.
fans listening to this, though, think like no team is scoring a ton of points. I mean, we're not scoring a ton on any defense. I don't care how bad the Jets' defense is. Have you watched
the Jets?
Have you watched the Saints' offense the last 3 weeks? It's been a tough slog.
All right,
24-6.
I will say this: the Saints struggle in the screen game in the post Drew Brees era with Taysom Hill. Just throw some screen passes to Alvin Kamara and see what happens.
This
that
game
Jets
is lockable.
defense.
I thought about locking this up, but there's so many injuries.
Yeah, I saw it too. I just don't.
That's a gross move.
I don't like doing that stuff. All right, let's now move on quickly. Mark.
All right, I'm going to go. I need a nice early game to pair with that Bengals-Niners dreamy affair that is going to be a romp, I hope, and it's going to be the Titans versus the Jaguars. This got on my radar, Jaguars-wise. Number one, Julio Jones for the Titans. Sounds like he's back at practice. They'll get him back. That helps a little bit.
Maybe.
For the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence had to come out and say
Wait, we have that actually. Do you want to tee it up and then?
Well, you've just teed it up.
All right.
Let's
Trevor
roll
Lawrence,
into that.
the number one overall pick who has struggled to lead this offense to points this year, came out in the media. James Robinson, their best offensive player at running back, has been getting benched a ton this year for fumble issues. Although Carlos Hyde, when he fumbles, he doesn't get benched. It's a whole thing, and it speaks to maybe a bigger issue behind the scenes. This is what Trevor Lawrence said to the media this week.
I honestly don't even know everything that went into it. You know, I'm playing the game and stuff happens on the sideline with coaching decisions. I don't really get into that, but I know, and I voice my opinion, James is one of our best players and he's got to be in the game, and I think we're all on the same page, so there's no confusion there. So we're gonna move forward, but I know James is a hell of a player, so I want him out there.
And now there's a sparrow. I talked to a sparrow who said there might be some heat going on behind the scenes with
Well, he
Lawrence.
talked to all of us, but yes.
There is some heat between Lawrence and
Urban
the
Meyer.
Jaguars. Coaching, yes.
Yeah, and I think
And this now coming out a
speaks
couple
to
days
that.
level.
And also Urban Meyer had to sit down and meet with James Robinson, and Urban Meyer came out saying it was just such a fantastic meeting. Oh wow, like what a connection we made. I don't buy a word.
And he says like I'm gonna start doing that now all the time. It's like what
he is behind the curve.
So it took James Robinson very politely answering questions, going out of his way to try to not make it an issue during some radio appearance where the guys were kind of peppering him on it and asking him about Urban Meyer. It took that happening and then becoming a local story for Urban Meyer then to set this meeting with his running back. And then afterwards, like, I'm going to change how I do everything, and I'm going to start meeting with all my players weekly on the regular because this was so good. Like, what is going on here?
It's a mess. That's what it is. And the Jaguars have a tricky situation on their hands financially there, to say the least. The Titans, go win a game. Go win a football game. Go do it. Mike Vrabel, your defense shut down the Jaguars, who just want to go home during what's been a miserable year. And then if you do,
it's 5 more games.
You're 9-4, and then you're in the mix in the AFC for the top seed, as crazy as that sounds. And like one thing, when I was watching Monday Night Football and you're watching the Patriots bully the Bills in the trenches, it's like, what's the team in the AFC that would be able to go punch for punch to the mouth with the Patriots in January? It's the Titans, but they got to get healthy and they got to survive this stretch of their schedule.
Maybe the Colts.
Maybe. It's another one. Any other thoughts on this one, Mark?
No, you've said it all.
All right, let's move on then to Gregg closing out the draft.
I am closing out the draft with a pick of a game this week. Let's go back up. Falcons-Panthers is my last game. I know. It's a sad state of affairs. Has there ever been a worse game, just in terms of like the actual quality of the teams, that's on December 12th or later between two teams that are very much in the playoff hunt? Because I know we don't believe in these teams, but
outside of like 5 other games this week, but yeah.
No, but not two teams like this. The Falcons and the Panthers are 27th and 32nd in overall DVOA. So that paints them as 2 of the worst 5 or 6 teams in the league. And their record still isn't that good. Like, they don't deserve to be 5-7, but it's not a good record. But in the NFC this year, that's only 1 game out. So one of these teams is going to have at least another week of a stay of execution. And I can't decide if I think like Cam Newton is just a little cooked, or whether he's going to have a chance in this game where the Panthers played bully ball the first time around. It was a very memorable game, to me at least. Just they did the Patriots-Bills plan a little quieter. They ran it about 47 times and let Sam Darnold throw it in the teens. And won that game in Atlanta and dominated the Falcons' offensive line, because when the Falcons play a team that has any pass rush, usually they stink.
There are differences, though. I mean, the Panthers right now are like a bad psilocybin voyage. They just fired Joe Brady, who we went into this season calling one of the best play callers in the league, potentially a head coach candidate. I think Matt Rule.
Who's we?
I thought Joe Brady, he came in with as much acclaim from the college game as anyone in years. And there were sparks last year, but there were also Teddy Bridgewater issues, saying that the red zone stuff. I mean, Matt Rule basically said he wanted to get creative and do things differently, and he fires Joe Brady right now. It's not working out. This has got to be one of the more disappointing teams around. To your point, Greg, that like their record, the 3-0 start feels like 1,000 years ago at this point.
Right, because the defense has been okay. I mean, the defense has let them down in spots, but they've been okay. Firing Joe Brady on the Sunday during a bye week is a wild move. It really is Matt Rule, I believe, thinking, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down doing it my way. And ultimately, I hired this guy I didn't really know that well. And he said that was the first time he did that he didn't regret it. I was like, actually, yes, you do regret it. That's what you do when you fire someone.
Right, that's an admission of failure.
Right.
Like, you picked the wrong guy.
You regretted it.
Right.
You regretted it.
And, yeah, to Marc's point, like the Broncos, for instance, and I brought this up a couple times this season. It feels like the Broncos aren't having a great season, but when you start out 3-0, it allows you to stay afloat as long as you don't become pitiful immediately after. The Panthers became pitiful. They've lost 7 of 9 since starting 3-0, hence their record 5-7. That's math. Nailed it. And they are now in a position where, I think
I might have to flip my pick for this game. I took the Panthers, but I think there's something about this Falcons team that they're going to be like 7-10 at the end, and when they should have been 2, they've actually been an overachieving 7-10.
I wonder
by
if
the end.
Rule to make kind of, I don't know, some type of bold declaration here gives it to Chuba Hubbard 37 times in this game.
Well, that's what they were starting to do,
like,
and then you lose Christian McCaffrey in the middle of it. By the way, Joe Brady put into a bit of a tough situation with the quarterback team building scenario
fair.
that he went
It's
in
like
you.
And Rule was like publicly saying it after certain games when their season started to spiral. It's like, we need to run the ball, and we're going to run the ball. Trust me, we're running the ball, which is basically, hey, offensive coordinator, listen to me. We need to run the ball. But it's like, you're not mentioning that Christian McCaffrey's now missed 2 straight years.
Right.
And it's like Chuba Hubbard and whoever the hell else is back there. It's like, that's a tough situation to put an offensive coordinator in.
Absolutely. And yet the success of Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Joe Burrow in the pros should absolutely redistribute all the credit that Joe Brady was getting for a historic LSU team. For some, we love giving the coaches so much credit when it's mostly about the players. Those are 2 incredible players at wide receiver on the same college team at the height of their powers, quarterbacked by a number 1 overall draft pick who's going to become a top 10 NFL quarterback. Like, I could have offensive coordinated that team to a pretty good record.
Well, you could have gotten fired too. I think we all could have. I don't think we quite understand what offensive coordinators
I don't
doing,
mean literally, but I'm saying if you just throw in your average college
I'd love
offensive.
to see Gregg coaching Sam Darnold for 6 weeks and see where we are press-wise in Carolina.
I would
worse.
delegate. I would delegate quite a bit. I think your average college coach at any level would have had great success with those 3 players. That is not a controversial
just
statement.
like LSU's
it's
passing.
Slightly dismissive, but
players matter. Like, what did LSU do the year before?
Players matter is not a controversial concept, but like you've just taken the man's resume and said he is a straw man. He doesn't really exist.
He got way overrated for that.
And I refuse to defend the Jets on any level, how they've made organizational decisions. But the reason Matt Rule didn't take the Jets job is because they didn't let him pick his own staff.
I like this.
That's a ridiculous way to treat any candidate.
It's
Come
true.
on.
Well,
Dan is coming back and scoring a point in an argument a year ago where the Jets got a lot of grief for keeping Gase and going
because
with
of his
Rule.
lack of NFL experience. Yeah. That was why they were that way. Joe Brady led one of the great passing attacks ever, and then Rule hired him to run a run-based offense. It's an interesting decision. All right, we keep moving, but first a break. All right, we're back. Seahawks at Texans. I'm not messing around. I'm telling you, Bears at Packers will be the last game we talk about. Seahawks at Texans. Jamal Adams out for the year. So you lose him, but you get the Texans. They're the worst team in football. Any thoughts on this game?
The only thing that caught my eye Texans-wise this week was Nick Caserio, their general manager, being asked about David Culley coming back, and he was like about as non-committal as you can get.
Really?
Yeah, and like Seattle, I mean, you're going to get Davis Mills for the Texans again. I mean, if you're Seattle, your season is over in my book. The Jamal Adams thing is an exclamation point on a trade that went totally south for them as the organization starts to fade into the later years of an organization under Pete Carroll.
Look at all these management wins
happens.
for the Jets, who have like a 127 winning percentage the last 2 years. But that ended up being the right move as well. Joe Douglas for president.
It is a big day for you, actually, Dan.
Now the Seahawks
scoring a lot of
the
victories.
Seahawks get another week of like the slightest life if they win this game, because the second they won that game against the 49ers, not only did Pete Carroll give like an impassioned like we're still alive speech in the locker room where he looked like they had won the Super Bowl, all of Seahawks Twitter that I followed immediately made the corner to like, well, you never know. Maybe we can go on this run here because 8 and 9 might get you in the playoffs.
That's what they expect,
right?
For a decade.
So if you win this game, you get one more week of that before the Rams game, where you feel like maybe we can at least make a run.
What if the Rams get wiped out by the Cardinals and they're in a free fall?
They didn't really look. The Seahawks looked weird last week. I did not get the feeling that they solved their offensive problems, even though they did look good when they were up tempo. I kind of don't even trust them to like cover 8 points against a sneaky, frisky Texans defense.
I forked the conversation over.
Yeah. That's right. So let's move on. The Lions at Broncos. Greg, give me something.
Another one where it's very tough. Do you really trust the Broncos to cover 8 against an NFL team? I don't.
They've done it how many times this year? Twice?
Notice how Greg defaults to a betting program whenever you just throw it to him open-ended.
Well, because I got to make the picks on NFL.com/game picks, and I really only care about the ATS, and so that's what keeps me up at night. It's not I'm going to pick the Broncos to win this game. I don't trust them to make it a blowout necessarily. They've won 4 or 5 blowout games, weirdly, actually. The first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, go check
Chargers,
who they were playing. Like
the Cowboys, the Chargers, very recently. So like those are teams with winning records. So it happens, and yet the Lions actually, if you look at since the bye week, I don't think they've given up more than 20 points. They've been in every single game until the final play. So they could be better than 1-10-1 here lately. Jared Goff missed practice with an illness. That would change things, obviously, if he was out.
All right, they beat the Giants, Jaguars, and Jets in those blowouts. So
I think Cowboys and the Chargers, 2 of the last 4 weeks.
I think we effectively, unless they want to really do like the villain in a horror movie thing and come back to life, the Broncos essentially were put under on Sunday Night Football.
Right, but I get it. All I was saying is they're capable of blowouts. They have blown out more good teams than many teams with winning records this year, right? I mean, the Bills haven't done it. It's a weird thing.
We do not want the Denver Broncos in the playoffs.
They're going to be 7-6 if they win this game. I think they could lose.
We don't want to waste the Saturday playoff game.
No.
That
if they lost to the
Lions,
I wonder if Vic Fangio, we could be saying goodbye sooner than expected.
Finally, last but least, the Chicago Bears are playing Sunday Night Football against the Green Bay Packers. Not flexed. Aaron Rodgers is a big-ticket item. The Packers are a big-ticket item. They have a major pop, obviously, nationally, as well as regionally. And they have a chance now to move to 10-3 and really put the pressure. So they play Sunday night. The Cards play Monday night. So they're going to destroy the Bears. Let's be honest here. They'll win about 37-10. We'll have to sit through the game for 3.5 hours.
Fields is returning.
Great. Okay. And then the Cardinals will go play the Rams, a feisty Rams team that needs a win, knowing that the Packers will be not just tied with them for the number 1 seed, but if the Cardinals lost, it is the Packers that are the number 1 seed because they have the head-to-head tiebreaker with 4 games to play. So the stakes are high. Packers, of course, have to take care of business first.
I see our fandom, a fork in a road there in our fandom. I am very excited about the Cardinals. You have a Packers fetish that is raging not too far below the surface.
I like watch. See, the different, like the Packers are what the Chiefs used to be, like a fun offensive attack playing for an old school franchise with a lot of history and then a historic quarterback. Like I like that stuff. Like as a Jets fan, I don't get any of that stuff. So if I could find it elsewhere, I'll take it, put it into my veins.
And like Arizona, I think a very balanced team, and I find them much more likable because the defense isn't hanging them out to dry week to week. MVS, last couple games, 19 targets. I mean, I trust them to take care of business. I don't even have to think about it. They're going to wipe Chicago out.
I'm with you, and yet I was thinking, okay, they're going to come back from the bye, and it's like, when are we going to start getting this mythical Packers team with Bakhtiari and Alexander at cornerback, and then Zadarius Smith? It's like, no, they're still not back. Aaron Rodgers still not practicing. Says he feels a lot better. That's good, but still not practicing. Randall Cobb actually has a new injury, and he is officially out for this game. Not
for
that
a while.
Not that.
Like.
Yeah, not that he's like.
But he is
he's not the biggest.
It's very
part
on
of
brand
that
for Aaron Rodgers. But when you look at like the receivers with the most red zone targets, there's some type of stat where he is with like 5 of the best receivers in the league, and then Randall Cobb. I wish I had the stat, but just to paint a picture that Aaron Rodgers makes it a point to make sure Randall Cobb is involved in this offense.
That's his, executive of the year heat, Aaron Rodgers. But Cobb had a great game before I got injured in that last appearance.
I believe in this running game though, and the reason why I'm with Dan, like I love watching this team every week now is because of the Aaron Rodgers thing. He played his best 2 games of the season, I thought, by far in a row before that bye. So I want to see if that keeps going. I am happy that Allen Robinson is back, Justin Fields is back, and Akeem Hicks is back.
Okay.
There's been so many of these Sunday night Bears-Packers games, and none of them I feel like have been good. Give me a good one.
And
we were in London when there was a
as
good
much
one.
as I like the Packers, I want to see Justin Fields put 30 up on him just to have it be
fun. I get it. Like the Midwest deserves these like old school rivalries in a big spot. I just wish the Bears would play the part.
Well, they could have
a
flexed
better.
this. That's I think why there was an ability to do something better.
It was for it's a good ratings game.
We love the Midwest. We love you guys. Great people. Polite.
Very nice. Very nice. Nice.
Hey,
I have a lot of family in Chicago.
Do you? I didn't know that. Interesting.
My mom's side.
Before, because Gregg, I know you were itching a little bit there. What is the Rainmaker lock of the week this week?
The Rainmaker?
Yeah.
Well, you can't just call for that, if I'm not, throwing it out there. So it's not official.
Doesn't it look better when Gregg is in the
this
accountant
is ridiculous.
Glasses and tie?
This is ridiculous.
Well, what is it? What's the game you feel the most confident about?
Yeah, no, I was trying to look to see it, and it wasn't popping off the top of my head.
Gregg, I listen to these gambling shows on Saturday on AM radio.
They
and
know.
those guys, they're coming with
They
some
pretend.
juice and some fire. So
They
you got to
pretend.
have a little more.
They
You got to
pretend.
build confidence in the potential.
If
gambler.
I had, I would have thrown it out as a thing.
I
think it might be
It's
Cowboys.
like, what do I do with my money?
I think it might be.
Let me look.
I think it might be covering the Cowboys.
Oh,
Cowboys
that's the
covering.
Rainmaker lock of the week.
No, that's not it. I don't feel that strong.
That's not good. That's not selling the brand, Gregg.
I do
too
like.
well.
I mean, if that Jake Fromm game gets to Sunday here, 9.5, I don't think you could make that line big enough. There, the Giants.
Okay, there you go.
There's another one.
I think we need to. I think we're going to
Cardinals.
workshop this, and it would be good to end every Thursday show with the Rainmaker lock of the week.
Right, catching you off guard might not have been the best
We
way
get a
to
sponsor
go with
for
that.
it. We see like the McAfee thing. Like he just pulled that deal. If we can get the sponsorship, DraftKings presents the Rainmaker lock of the week. Like we're rolling in it.
They'd give us $300, I'm certain.
All right. Like Adam Shine, by the way, I was listening to Sirius yesterday, waiting for that to do that appearance thing, and Adam Shine, they throw it to him, and it's like a nice 60-second nugget. I'm Adam Shine
Right,
on
but he
sports,
knew that was
and I've been
happening
doing
beforehand.
this for 17 years. I've been picking a lock, and it never goes wrong. And this week I'm banging, and he did like a college game, I think. Like that's what we need.
It's never gone wrong in 17 years.
I'm telling you.
Gregg, you were caught off guard. I defend you on that because.
Oh, plus, ranking. I don't know. I do like Marc's lock of the Cardinals, by the way, quite a bit too.
Good.
Well, so does Marc.
Did that come off as me being critical? I'm not. I'm just saying I smell a hit here.
Right.
And maybe next Thursday.
I mean, or you could look at it the other way, which is that the Rainmaker bit has been gone for a couple years now. Basically, I'm making the choice each and every week to not do it. So that's a conscious choice.
Erica just threw her hands up behind the glass. That's a tough sitch. I thought it was good, but all right. Gregg decided it should be over. You love it. You love doing this stuff.
You do it when you feel it. When you feel it in your bones.
Welcome to life.
Very
All right.
complex.
Here we go. That is the Week 14 slate. Tonight, Thursday night, Steelers, Vikings, me, and the Quiet Storm.
Ooh, I'm looking forward to that one. On Friday mornings, I always try to listen to that TNF recap on my drive in. So now I get both of you. Yeah.
Me,
Truth serum? Okay.
Marc Sessler.
Not every week, but I do a lot of times.
Me, Marc Sessler, Pete Yorn will be on the mic to talk Thursday Night Football recap, Steelers, Vikings. Get excited.
You're looking at me. I am mildly excited to be.
It's kind of a fun one. I suspect you guys are going to get a lot to talk about. That's my prediction.
I like it. I'm in. All right. Ricky, let's go.
Really does look like an accountant. It's stupid.
The Rainmaker bit is such a great way to close this Thursday show. Just think about it.
Sure, but you could have done this off the air.
Heed the call.